The truth occurs. The truth occurs.
Hi everyone. Well, big news. It's official. NASA scientist finds evidence of alien life. Yup, a scientist found evidence of real alien life. It's scientific. So if you didn't believe that there was aliens before, I guess you can put that to rest. However, if you were expecting one of these little guys that we all know and love, you might be kind of disappointed because it didn't look like one of those little grays. It looked more like a worm. Like this. You're looking at a real alien. This is what an alien looks like. Kind of a disappointment maybe, but at least it's a step in the right direction, because a lot of us have been kind of expecting disclosure for a long time. Now, I know I've told you before that aliens is not something that I spend a lot of time researching, because I'm more interested in, what magical properties the things in my kitchen have than in aliens, because I can't really do much about aliens. But that's not to say I don't believe in them. And a lot of very reputable people have for a long time been saying that there are UFOs and there are aliens. Now, I don't know if the worm is capable of being the commander of a spaceship, and he probably didn't need one anyway because he arrived on a meteorite. But this was in the Mail Online last year. Aliens hit our nukes. They even landed at Suffolk Base Claim Airmen. It says here that senior U.S. airmen are claiming that since 1948, aliens have been hovering over the U.S. and the U.K. nuclear missile sites and deactivating nuclear weapons. And also that the government has been telling these guys to keep quiet about this. So don't be afraid of the worm, because the worm is our friend. And he's going to disable our nuclear weapons and other weapons and maybe even bring world peace. Lots of reputable people are saying that there's aliens, including NASA astronauts. According to this article from the Daily Telegraph Australia, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, a veteran of the Apollo 14 mission, says that aliens exist, and of course there's a cover-up about it. Here's what he says. It's been well covered up by all our governments for the last 60 years or so, but slowly it's leaked out, and some of us have been privileged to have been briefed on some of it. I've been in the military and intelligence circles who know that beneath the surface of what has been public knowledge, yes, we have been visited. Regarding the papers recently, it's been happening quite a bit. The guy was an astronaut for NASA. I mean, who would you believe, him or the government? And in fact, even some members of government have been talking about, the fact that UFOs exist, just, once they're out of office, of course. Such as former Canadian Defense Minister Paul Hellyer, who accuses the American government of a cover-up. According to this article from unbunker.com, Mr. Hellyer says that UFOs are real, aliens have visited the Earth, and the U.S. government is covering up information about them. And he's known this for a long time, but he says that he couldn't talk about this while he was in government, because you're not supposed to. These are only a couple of people in high places who are stating publicly that there are UFOs, there are aliens, and it's time for disclosure. So you'd think that, with all these kinds of people saying that maybe we would be getting closer to disclosure. And keeping track of progress is the Disclosure Project, disclosureproject.org. Latest news, former Canadian Defense Minister Paul Hellyer discusses his UFO sighting and blasts U.S. on UFO cover-up. So you see, unbunker.com isn't making it up. And here's what it says on the Disclosure Project website. On Wednesday, May 9, 2001, over 20 military, intelligence, government, corporate, and scientific witnesses came forward at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. to establish the reality of UFOs, or extraterrestrial vehicles, extraterrestrial life forms, and resulting advanced energy and propulsion technologies. The weight of this first-hand testimony, along with supporting government documentation and other evidence, will establish without any doubt the reality of these phenomena. Well, I should hope so, but there are those who just won't believe it. One of these would be the author of this book, Skeptics and True Believers. That's Chet Ramo. This was actually a really great book. Very fun and interesting. But this guy's like a total hardcore skeptic. I mean, he could have an alien walk into his room and, give him the anal probe, and he would still somehow convince himself that it didn't happen. People like Chet Ramo will say that anything that cannot be measured by scientific means isn't real. But isn't it also possible that there are things that are real that just cannot be measured by scientific means because science doesn't have the means to do so? And the other thing that's possible is that these things are real and they have been scientifically proven, and it's just that the government and media or whatever won't admit that they have been because they just don't want the public to know yet for some reason. This doesn't just apply to aliens. You know, Chet Ramo talks about, you know, ESP and all these things, lumps them together with aliens and everything else. Like, it's unproven and, you know, you're kind of gullible if you believe this. And am I gullible? Well, maybe I am. I mean, my horoscope says so. But that doesn't mean that this stuff isn't real. For example, ESP doesn't exist, right? Not scientific. Well, then tell me, why would the military invest in something like Operation Stargate, US intelligence, and psychic spies? Is the military gullible too, do you think? Because they have these projects like this that involve things like remote viewing. They do it. They don't call themselves, you know, gullible, but then if we believe it, then we have some kind of mental disorder. It's a bit like, you know, the thing with global government. I mean, if you're in the government, you're allowed to talk about global government, but if you're, you know, somebody who just like spends a lot of time on the internet, then that makes you, you know, paranoid. Anyway, it's official. They found alien life, and I guess they're going to have to pretty soon have some kind of disclosure pertaining to other kinds of alien life, like, you know, grays and spaceships and all that kind of stuff, because there's just too much information mounting. It's just going to make them look bad if they don't come out and admit that it's real. Well, thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.